All right, so before you decide that you want to drive for Lyft, I'm going to show you what a huge issue is. Now, as you can see so far right now for this year, 2025, I've made $10,898.46. Now, according to Lyft, my average booked hour is coming out to $30.58. Understand this, Lyft does not charge the passengers for pickup. So you're taking a loss for each mile that you put on your car picking up that passenger. That's miles, time, wear and tear to your vehicle, and gas that you are not being compensated for. Passengers don't care that they're not being charged for pickup. A lot of them don't even know that they're not being charged for pickup, and they can care less. They figure you decided to do this, so that's on you. It's not on them. It's not their fault that Lyft doesn't pay you for the pickup, time, gas, miles, wear and tear, maintenance. But what they don't realize is that it's up to them to choose what they pay. So that means in that area where you see tip, that's where you can actually increase what the driver makes and help them get compensated. Now, otherwise, Lyft would have to charge the passengers for this. And eventually it's going to come down to that, especially when they get these autonomous cars going into the market. So let me give you the breakdown on this right here. So you're looking at right here where it's showing that average book hour is $30.58. That means that that's what I'm making basically based off of the time frame it takes to pick up and drop off the passenger. That's what they call book time. Then you have your online time. Online time is the total time that you spent online on the app. And as you can see, my online time for this year is 390 hours and 17 minutes. The book time is 336 hours. That's with passengers. As you can see right here, it gives you the description. The time spent driving to pick up and drop off passengers. Okay, and again, we're not paid for that pickup time and miles to pick up those passengers. So to break down these numbers, as you can see, you got the 390, which is the time that I've been online, and then you have the 336, which are the hours that I spent booked. And side note, as you can see, this is how many rides that I rejected. 1,800 rides. So I could have done over 2,000 rides this year, but because they were offering way less money than what I would need to recover, I had to reject those rides. I'm rejecting more rides than what I'm actually completing. And this is day in, day out for every last driver. We can't afford to pick you guys up. If you are more than 5 minutes away from us, we can't afford that. And most of the time, if not every time, passengers aren't looking at where the drivers are at. They're not looking at that, wow, this driver's far away. It's saying 5-minute pickup, but that's because they're going to spend about 4 minutes on the highway. So how many miles can you cover on the highway in that period of time, especially 10 minutes? So no, the driver can't afford to pick you up because so many people, they don't take the time to compensate the driver. As you can see, as you're looking here, you're not seeing any tips on most of these rides. You see a tip here, and then you also see a tip here. I think I had a few tips that day. I'm not really sure. But yeah, you only see those two tips, with 3 tips on that particular day. Let's scroll down. Okay, you got April 4th. It's 2025 again. April 4th, let's count how many tips. You got 1, 2 tips. But if you count how many rides, you got, starting from the bottom before April 3rd, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So out of 14 rides, you only see 2 tips there. Now, I know somebody's probably looking at the 39.24 right there. Wow, oh, they paid you good right there. Well, that's because that passenger was probably desperate. Look how many miles I had to put on my car. I had to put the total of 48 miles on my car. As a driver, the goal is to at least get $2 per mile, which is hard to do, and you're hardly ever going to see them pay out that much. Now, let me see. On that trip, let's see here if did this passenger tip? Nope, this particular passenger did not tip on that ride, and that was a long distance ride. This is another reason why a lot of drivers don't do long distance trips. That particular trip dropped off in Bowling Greens. It is really, really, really slow in Bowling Greens. You hardly get any ride requests out in the Bowling Greens area. So that means that you have to travel from the Bowling Greens area all the way back up to the Toledo area. So you're looking at least 10 miles before you get to your next rider. If you go from Bowling Greens over to the Maumee area or something like that, then yeah, it's a shorter distance, but you're still looking at 8 miles, which we call dummy miles because we're not being paid for that. But let's get back into the point of this video. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down the numbers. All right. So we're going to look at the total online time. Total online time was 390 hours. Now we're going to multiply that by the 3058 that they're saying on the book hours, which means if I would have actually been booked the entire time that I was online, number one, this book hours, if I would have been booked that whole entire time, that booked hours would have actually went down. It would have been lower. I would have made probably around $22 an hour on book time if I would have accepted a lot more rides. So the question is, why would I be making less if I'm accepting more rides? Because the total payout for the ride versus the miles wouldn't have been sufficient enough for me to be profitable, and then not only that, but also because they're being cheap and not paying enough money to the drivers, trying to save the passengers money, I guess, while the drivers are losing money. So that's the double standard there. But if I would have accepted more rides, then my book hour amount would have been a lot lower than what it is. If you don't cherry pick your book time online, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be that high. At the end of the day, the time that you're utilizing to get back and forth between passengers and making money, at the end of the day, you can be at a significant loss by the end of the week thinking that you can accept just any and everything. You got to stop doing that if you are doing it. So if we look at right now, if we go ahead and we look at the total time that I was online, the 390 hours, and multiply that by 3058. So the 390 hours multiplied by $30.58, I would have made $11,926 this year. So from the $11,926, let's take away the $10,898. And so the amount that I did not get paid for my online time was $1,028. So there's $1,028 for the time that I was online that I did not get paid for, which was the remaining hours. Because remember, the book time is the time that between me accepting a ride request and completing that ride. But online time is the time that I spend waiting on rides or declining and canceling until I receive a ride request that I feel is a little bit more profitable or is profitable. So again, that is time that we do not get paid for. And I want that to dwell in with a lot of people right now as far as that unpaid time, which based off of the dollar amount that I've been making on average, that's $1,028 that is not accounted for. Complete loss. It's not there. It's just an imagination because they don't charge the passenger. We're not being paid for it. We don't always get ride requests that pay out enough money. If Lyft was actually paying me enough money on these rides, I would accept a lot more rides. Way more rides than what I'm accepting right now. I would be accepting it. So instead of me, declining 1,800 rides, I would have actually completed 1,800 rides, if not more than that. Because if you think about it, for drivers, we normally can complete about 3 rides, sometimes more than that, inside of 1 hour. So that's pretty much 54 hours that I did not actually have passengers in my car when I was online. So 54 times 3 is 162 rides that would have gotten completed during that time that I was online, waiting on ride requests, declining it, or canceling it. That's horrific. This is why Lyft reports so many times not making any profits. Because if with the amount of hours that I've been online this year, which we're in April right now, with the amount of time that I've been online this year, if I would have completed those rides, and if it's other drivers that are completing less rides than me, online more than me, or completing more rides than me, but they're online way more than me, nevertheless, they still are declining more rides than I am. That is a huge loss on Lyft's end. That is a huge delay on passengers to where they're not getting to where they need to get to. On average, Lyft is they're paying us 40% less than what we would need to recoup to be profitable on these rides. 60% less on the longer distance trips. So shorter distance trips, we're making 40% less than what we need. And on the longer distance trips, we're making 60% less. No driver should ever receive a ride request where they're going to be getting paid less than $5 for that ride. And trust and believe there are plenty of rides where we're getting paid way less than what we would like to get paid for a minimum fare. And again, this price that you see, 402, that's not what the passenger paid. That's what I'm being submitted as an offer to give that ride. So Lyft may have charged the passenger, say $4.99, maybe $6 or $7, even $8, $10, $12. I don't know. Looking at this ride right here, they're paying out a little bit more than what they normally would pay out for this ride. But this is a 22-minute ride. I have to put the total of 13.6 miles on my car just to make $11.15. Most drivers would not accept this ride unless the payout for this ride was $22 because they look for $2 a mile at least on the distance that the passenger is traveling. At least on that distance. So on this ride, it's half the amount that drivers would normally accept this trip on. Now in the video, I did calculate the trip based off of 40 cents per minute. 22 minutes being $8.80 is what I would need to recoup. But that is with less miles in all on street distance. That particular ride being 11 miles and being that it was 22 minutes between pickup and drop off, it's because most of the driving was going to be on highway miles. But in order for me to be profitable at 40 cents per minute is what I would need to charge. But that's usually on a 22-minute trip. It's all street distance, which can be anywhere about 7, maybe 8 miles, somewhere up in there is what it would be where I would make a profit from it. But because it's 11 miles, it made less, which is why I declined that trip. I had to decline that trip because it was way too many miles. Even though I love to make $11, in 22 minutes, it's way too many miles on my car and way too much gas. And a lot of drivers, they don't know how to calculate the cost of their gas. But if you don't, you take the cost of gas, say it's $3.20, you take that and you divide that by your miles per gallon. If your car gets 21 gallons per mile, then you want to divide that by that 21, and then you get the cost of gas per mile on what it's costing you as an individual. Yes, we can write off our miles on our taxes. Now, a lot of drivers, they have not filed taxes, and a lot of the drivers, they don't really think about that portion of the job as far as what they owe. If you're not making enough money, and you got bills and everything like that, you really do not think about the taxes at the end of the day. The issue with this ride is that the passenger's rating is 4.6. If you don't do this and you're not familiar with it, 4.6 is a horrible rating. It is horrible because the way that the ratings go is you start off with 5 stars. You go from 5 stars to 4.99, 4.98, 4.97. So this person is down to a 4.6, fam. 4.6. You only lose 1 point of 3 digits at a time. And they're down to a 4.6. And again, I'm switching over the screen in this video. I'm switching over the screen so I can calculate the 19 minutes at 40 cents. And it was showing that I needed to make $7.60 off of this trip in order to make it profitable by time. I calculate my stuff by the time and not by the miles, because otherwise I would be struggling to make any money with the app, because they're not paying $2 a mile. Not in my market, they're not paying $2 a mile. It has to be busy out. It has to be surging. They have to be swarmed with a lot of rides inside the queue in order for me to see an offer around $2 a mile. So anytime you see this upper right-hand corner, you see the bubble go gray like that, it's because I hit the X button. I wasn't accepting that. Look what they're paying out on this ride. On this ride, the driver, myself, would get $3.15. Now it's 10 minutes. Now, so if you think about this, if you did rides like this every 10 minutes at $3.15, then you're making over $30 an hour. So it's not that bad of a trip. However, you're not going to get a bunch of trips like this. So every 10 minutes, you're making $3. So it's $30 an hour. You're not going to get, by doing 10 trips. You're not going to get trips like that, because number one, you're gonna hit railroad tracks sometimes where trains are coming through. You're gonna hit traffic. Traffic conditions can affect that. Not only that, but when you get to the pickup location, most people, they're not ready. So for any driver, it's really hard, even though and like, man, I could take this trip, because if I had an hour of trips just like this, I'd be making $30 an hour. So as a driver, you probably, in a way, you kind of want to take a trip like this, although most drivers don't want to make no less than $5 per trip, period. But you mathematically in your head, more trips like this would equate to you making $30 an hour. But because number one, that you're not going to get them all like that. Number two, a lot of people, they hit the wait and save. And because drivers are declining rides, especially with long distance pickups, the passenger who says, oh, I'm not paying that priority, I'm going to do the wait and save, they are assuming that you're not going to be there for about 20 minutes. They're not going to get a driver for about 20 minutes. But because you're declining rides, Lyft decides to go ahead and send you the ride that's closer. That's only 1.1 mile away. That's only 4 minutes away. So the passenger's thinking 12 minutes. You show up in 4 minutes, and the passenger is not outside. The passenger is still in the house. The passenger takes another 3 or 4 minutes coming out. So it's a 10-minute trip, pick up, drop off. But because the passenger took 4 minutes, now it turned into 14 minutes. 14 minutes. There's no way you're going to hit that $30 hour mark if you take rides like this. There's no way that you're going to hit that mark because of that wait time at the pickup. Then you get people on short distance trips that, they want to stop at a store. Like, come on, man, I'm getting paid $3.15. Now you want to stop at the store and you're not even putting it in the app? Like, you paid $7, maybe $8, $9 for this ride, but I'm being paid $3.15. You're trying to put this on me, and you're pissed off because I won't make the stop because I tell you that you got to put it in the app. I'm telling you to put it in the app because I know most people are not going to put it in the app, and I keep on rolling, and I get them to the drop-off location. All right? So I do need to make a video showing all of these $3, $4 trips and put that out there. We need to make sure that video goes viral. It needs to go viral so people get it in their head like, look, it's not worth it to make a stop. And if you're going to tell me that you're going to tip me in the app, I'm not going to believe you. Because if you can't afford to put it in the app, you can't afford to tip me in the app. Because the minimum tip is $1, but also the minimum that you would have to pay for, minimum, if not the max, that you have to pay for a stop is an additional $1. Now, I'm only going to get paid 6 cents a minute after the first 2 minutes. However, still, at the same time, I don't want to do the stop. If I accept a ride with the stop, that's one thing. But for me to have to sit here and make a stop for you, and you did not put it in the app, that's a problem. The fact that you didn't put it in before I accepted the ride request, and the fact that you know what? because I know that there may be somebody who is a passenger who may be watching this and they thinking like, well, you accepted the trip. If I had to stop, they paid me for it. I paid for it. So you got to make the stop. Let me pause for a second. So go on Google. What does this say right here? The Lyft drivers have to stop if I don't put it in the app. You can Google it. It's going to bring up what Lyft policies are online. So let's go ahead and do that. What does this say? It says no. A Lyft driver is not obligated to stop if you don't include it in the app. A Lyft driver is not obligated to stop if you don't include it in the app. If you don't include it in the app, when you hit the plus sign, what does it say? Fees apply if you add a stop. Wait time fees apply at a per minute rate. If you add a stop, try to keep stops under 5 minutes. Your driver can end the ride if your stop exceeds 5 minutes. You think we don't know Lyft's policy? You think we don't know it? You think we don't know that you're not going to be charged for the stop if we make the stop? You think we don't know that we won't be paid for that stop if you don't add it in the app? You just ask us verbally to make the stop? Do y'all really think that we that stupid? That you're the first person to ever ask us to make a stop when we ask that 10 times a day without people putting it in the app. I got a dash cam. First thing I tell the passengers, like, hey, I love to be accommodating, but understand this. This dash cam also is Wi-Fi connected. They can view when I go off road and I'm no longer on the path that they set up, they can view this dash cam and they will see that you're not in the car. And they will assume that what's the reason for me making the stop if I'm not getting paid for it because you didn't add it in the app. So they're going to think that you paid me cash, which is against their policy. And then my account gets deactivated. I could tell them that. I could just tell them that, hey, you on dash cam? I get this a lot. People ask me to make a stop instead of putting it in the app and paying for it. You're on dash cam. You can either put it in the app or you can go after the ride and do like most people and give me 1 star and say I sexually harassed you or was under the influence and they'll deactivate my account. But notice this. I will submit the video footage. It will make whatever statement that you made invalid and they may deactivate your account. So we can avoid all of this by you just adding in a stop. And based off of the service that you give me a reasonable rating. My car is clean. My attitude's great. I'm just enforcing Lyft's policy. I'm not yelling at you. I'm not frustrated. I'm not pissed off. I'm not reckless driving. I'm not, So again, I mean, it's really no good way or no good thing that what you can say to passengers to avoid them from getting pissed off at you. I always recommend that drivers, before you go online, make sure that you bring up age requirements for Lyft riders. Always make sure that you have that already ready to open so you can go ahead and you can just switch screens like that. So make sure that page is open. Make sure the car seat page is open. And also you can Google how many are drivers allowed to have more riders than seatbelts in the car? And it's going to tell you, no, you cannot. All right. So if you look up car seat policy, car seat policy, you put on there, you let passengers know, because you know how you get to a pickup location and the person doesn't have a car seat. And then they're like, oh man, I really got to get to where I got to get to. Can I throw you a tip on the app? I say, well, I don't know if I don't think that they're going to let you tip enough because this is only a 4-mile ride and they only let you tip up to a certain percentage. But I need to hold on to what I would be charged for a ticket if a cop pulled me over. The minimum ticket is $20. The thing is $25, and I think it can go up to $50 or $60. Probably depends on the cop, or it depends on the age of the child or the circumstances. I don't know. But unless you're going to let me hold on to that money, you're going to have to get another driver, because we can mark it as a unaccompanied minor, but we can mark it as a no car seat. That person can be charged. Lyft does not care, because you got to book the ride again and they get a booking fee. That's why they don't care. Lyft knows that they're cheaper than Uber. That's why they don't care. No matter what, you're going to still come running right back, because you never went in your app and set a default tip. That means that you're not willing to pay more for your ride. You're not willing to pay more for your rides. So they already know you're not about to run the Uber. Uber prices are always high. Lyft is the dominant one in most markets because more drivers drive for them because the bonuses are better. Ride challenges and stuff versus Uber's promotions or Uber's payout on these rides. So at the end of the day, Lyft is not worried about you crying and talking about, oh, well, I'm going to go somewhere else and do my business somewhere else. They already have had plenty of people say that, and plenty of people have come right back to the platform because they can find more drivers out and about to pick them up. And when people are closer to them, it's a guaranteed ride. Farther away, maybe not so. But a lot of people are multi-apping, and so they probably are going to look and they're going, oh, nope, I got a better offer and cancel on you anyway. So again, I get it. Like I said, a lot of people probably look at this video and they want to complain and, oh, well, tipping is an option. Well, did Lyft charge you for pickup? Because Lyft doesn't charge for pickup. Look at your receipts in your email. You don't have anything that says pickup. It says booking fee. But why are drivers around the country protesting because they want Lyft and Uber to give them some of the booking fee and some of the additional fees? Because not only are you paying a booking fee, but they're also taking additional 30% off the ride and shoving it into their pockets. Because they claim drivers get at least 70% of the charges, which we don't. But I appreciate you for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And going out of this video, I'm going to show you a couple more ride requests and what they're paying out. But I am not going to be speaking.
Just $700 and 0% interest financing for everyone. It's easy to see. Located at 1000 Wood
Concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour. I gotta fill up my hat. Not here. And I go in and she's eating my lunch.
Favoritism is real. We'll use the suggestion to enhance your.
All right, there you have it. And I have a lot more ride requests that I could actually show where they're not paying enough money on these rides. And here's the thing. They want to make it really affordable for people to take rides. I don't understand when a lot of these rides, the price is way too low. And I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of passengers that are thinking like, wow, why is it so low? And that's how ridiculous it is. So you see on the blue dot, I'm going to go ahead and put this not even a block away. This is like right at the corner. It's not even a block away. It's literally 0.1 miles, if that. So let's see what they're charging. Okay, so right now, it looks like the standard 7 minutes, $7.33. Then 5 minutes, it's $9.49 for the priority pickup. So in cases like this, based off where I'm driving to, let me tell you what they're going to try to pay the driver. They're going to pay the driver on this particular ride. They're going to pay the driver $3 at the most. And they may end up offering the driver a little bit more. Say about $3.08, maybe $3.10 or $3.15. And that's not on the standard. That's on the priority. The standard would pay out $3. The standard would pay out $3 to the driver. They're going to take $4.33. Now, on the priority might pay out $3.05, maybe $3.12, even $3.35. But they're still making the majority of it. They're still getting the majority of it. So don't believe and drivers go on, before they go online, they check these. And they can see, oh, well, Lyft should be paying more money right now because they're charging more money. That's not even the case. They're trying to make up for what they're not making in the market because it's slow or because they don't have that many drivers out. Every market, let's just say in Toledo, their goal every hour is, say, making 5,000 or 10,000. They have less drivers online. They're not going to make that. So they're going to raise the prices up for the passengers to make they 10 grand. But they're not going to raise what they're paying drivers because then they wouldn't make the 10 grand. So they're getting more money when they want more money. But we're not getting more money when we need more money just to operate on a standard day at standard times or whatnot. So take it however you want to. We know that we being ripped off. Passengers are not necessarily being so ripped off because 90% of the time you're paying less than what you're supposed to pay in the first place. And I'm not talking about you weekend passengers who pay $40 to go 6 miles, but you only take about 2 or 3 trips a week in the first place. Okay, so and they're charging you more money because you always agreed to pay more money, because you figure when the prices are high, then you can get drivers. But if you have to wait until the prices drop, then you're probably going to get a bad driver. You know, the drivers are going to have bad experiences. Your perception is mixed up in all of this, and you're not understanding what we go through as drivers and deal with. You know, I get passengers all the time get inside the car. They don't realize that, hey, I've been doing rides for the past few hours or all day, and people have been treating me messed up. I don't want to talk right now because I'm liable to say something that is going to upset you. You may notice I'm in a bad mood, but you don't have any proof I'm in a bad mood until I start speaking. That's why I want to be quiet. That's why I have my Bluetooth on. That's why I have my music blasting when I pull up and when you get in the car. It's to avoid any type of conversation. I'm not going to be talking all professional when I'm in a bad mood. But my bills, I don't get a discount on my electric bill because I had a bad day. I don't get money off my rent because I chose not to work because I had anxiety or I was stressed out. Bills are going to come in. I got to work no matter what. But I'm an independent contractor. If I don't want to talk, I shouldn't have to talk. If I wanted to talk, I'll get a sales job. If I wanted to talk, I'll be at the counter of some restaurant. Hello, may I help you? If I don't want to talk, I don't have to talk. That's all I'm saying. And that goes for all drivers. So don't have that expectation. Most people that get in their car, they got Bluetooth on. We say hello, they don't speak back. They don't even get in saying hello, even though you got a Bluetooth on, just to be courteous. So again, that's why drivers roll around with their Bluetooth on. What's the point of talking to anybody when, you know, a good percentage of your passengers don't talk to you? Now you get a bad rating from the butthole who think that they need to hold a conversation because they're lonely. I don't care. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Sorry for the video being too long.